So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the Tories absolutely face planting over their failing Rwanda scheme. Just a quick heads up, this video, there's only audio working on one side, so thank you Newsnight for that. Thought my headphones were broken, but they're not, so just this clip here is going to come out of one side of your speaker or your headphones, so just bear that in mind.
If we don't resolve this, we will not be in government after the next election. I think the Prime Minister realises that. I hope my colleagues realise that. This is an absolutely existential issue for the Conservative government faced with this level of pressure. And I think it's not a choice, it's not some political tactic to have this fight. It's a necessary fight for us to have. The reality is that it makes a mockery of our vote to leave the European Union, which was in large part about immigration control, if we then cannot credibly police our own borders.
But the problem is, we have control over immigration, we always did, but, you can't argue, especially now, you can't argue, oh, we need control over our borders and stuff, when we always had it. But point being is, these are asylum seekers, under at least the Dublin III agreement, what you could do is send back refugees to the safe country that they came from, the other countries like France, for example. Now you can't do that. So, this is culture war nonsense, and the problem is they've created this culture war and they've lost their own culture war, because all they want to do is focus on immigration and refugees and, people that cross the channel, etc. And because they don't know how to deal with it, what they've done is say, oh, we're going to stop it. And they keep passing laws to stop it, but these laws don't work because it's not illegal to claim asylum here. And so all they do is create a straw man, but then lose to the straw man. The first time in human history, potentially, this has happened, where you create a monster that you lose to. It's absolutely insane. This one from this guy Tim Montgomery, who for some reason gets a nice slot on BBC Politics Live.
I feel less safe in Britain because we don't have control of our borders. I feel unsafe because we have illegal immigrants coming in, the history of that.
Who are the illegal immigrants? Because it's not illegal to claim asylum. So unless you're talking about people who've overstayed their visas like British people do in Australia or New Zealand, what are you talking about?
We do not know, but a lot of them get involved in drug gangs and other illegal activities.
I mean, that's not really true, but the other problem is they're not allowed to work, and the amount of money the Home Office gives to asylum seekers is ridiculously low. So, if these people fell into gangs, I wouldn't be surprised, especially when they were victims of human trafficking anyways, to get here. So I wouldn't be surprised if these gangs then, once they get here, grab them from hotels and stuff. We have heard stories of missing children, etc., and then force them to sell drugs or into other things, especially given that the government's bill, the illegal immigration bill, aptly named, means that you won't get police support if you go to the police, if you've been trafficked here. That's something we covered in depth before. So, they feel less safe. I don't know why you do, big man. You probably live in a nice house. Police probably run down your street when you get into trouble. I'd have no idea what you're talking about.
When they are here, and a lot of people will be wondering about the courts and saying, you seem very interested in the welfare of migrants, and that is proper.
They're interested in the welfare of the law, Bao. That's the difference.
But where is your interest in the welfare of the British people? And I think it raises big questions, really, about the power of the courts in our country when they can consistently undermine the democratically elected representatives of this country.
Again, what the courts are doing is they're, enacting British law, the laws that were passed, and they can decide if things are illegal or not. It's not nothing new here. You need a strong judiciary. It's one of the foundations of democracy. For you to undermine the courts like this makes no sense. If you have a problem with their specific ruling, why don't you say what your issue is and on what ground do you have this issue?
In America, they have a system whereby the people who are appointed to courts have become politicised. And that is the danger that court decisions like those of today are exposing us to.
No. What you're doing is you're trying to expose us to that kind of danger. You're trying to say, oh, if the courts aren't careful, we might have to do a US-style court system, and that would be your fault for not agreeing with us in the first place. What this idiot is trying to do here, he's trying to say, look, either you agree with us or you face significant reforms. Absolute moron.
The only way of dealing with it may be for us to go, which I would not want, ideally, to choose.
Oh, of course you wouldn't want that. Of course you wouldn't want it. And you're looking for any excuse to do it, pal.
To go down the American road of having to politicise our court appointments, because that's the only way the democracies get the upper hand again.
Although I think the court was at pains today to point out that it wasn't making a moral judgment on the policy one way or the other. It was just saying it's not lawful.
But the effect, as your question at the beginning implies, is it stopping the democratically elected...
It's not stopping... That's the thing though. If the government aren't acting within the law, it's the court's role to stop that when a court case comes up. So what the courts have said is, what you're doing is illegal. Stop it. That's it. That's all that's happened here. And that's what you expect the courts to do. If someone does something illegal, it doesn't matter if they're a politician or if they're an ordinary person, you expect the courts to step in and say no. This one from Braverman, who's had a rough old time.
Can I just say, gently to the Home Secretary, this is about the statement of the judge about migration. This isn't about the Labour Party. This is about what the government's doing. I don't want to interfere, I don't want to intervene, but we do need to stick to what the statement's meant to be about. Home Secretary.
So it's not meant to be a political attack on the Labour Party, it's meant to be an update on what's happening with the Rwanda policy.
Mr. Speaker, so in conclusion, in any event, while Labour continue to celebrate today's judgment
and you know, they're laughing at her because she's talking absolute nonsense. The Speaker, we do need to stick to what the statement is about. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In any event, the Labour Party, absolute moron. This from Cabinet Minister Penny Mordaunt, who said she respects the court's decision regarding the Rwanda policy, saying that it's unlawful, which is very surprising that she has said that. But yeah, you know, she's accepted it, and the other Tories haven't, which makes me believe she's one of the lesser bad Tories. Maybe she's not a tier 1 villain. She could be a tier 2 villain instead, because you've got tier 1 villains like this geezer Simon Clarke, who said the government should take the UK out of the ECHR if the courts keep blocking the Rwanda policy. It wasn't even the ECHR who did this. It was I think it was the Court of Appeal. It was like the second highest court in the UK that stopped this. It was a British court stopping this. A man's like, yo, you know what we need to do? We need to leave the ECHR. Like, this guy's an absolute moron, and he thinks the people listening to him are absolute morons. Genuinely hilarious. You got this from Question Time, which is a question about, does anyone actually support sending people to Rwanda?
We're very careful how we select our audiences here, and I'm not trying to overstate the importance. This is not a YouGov poll. But what I'm seeing here is that even though we have more people who voted Conservative than for any other single party here, is there anyone here who supports sending people to Rwanda?
So that's how Question Time apparently do their stuff, where they'll look at how people voted and they'll bring in the audience based on that. I still think that's cap, because in Scotland they would have very much majority independent voters, but, you know, whatever, SNP voters, but sure, no one. Crickets.
Good on you.
And I'm amazed. I wouldn't be surprised if Question Time edited this. So after she makes a statement, someone will play the clapping of the audience. I would not be surprised. But you can see Helen Whatley just being absolutely kind of surprised by this. They don't have the public support on this, and I think this is probably. I want to say this is one of the worst things the government have done, but this is one of the most unnecessarily bad things the government have done, which is they have ordered paintings to be painted over. So asylum seekers who have done, you know, paintings and things like that, the government have ordered those to be painted over. Like, why? You know, like, how do you dehumanize people? Just take away their ability to draw and do art, you know? It makes absolutely no sense for the government to do this, and it feels like they just want to break these kids, because that's who these people are, they're kids, to break these kids mentally, just because they're claiming asylum here, which is just one of the stupidest things you could ever do. Could you imagine, like, if Australia or one of these other countries did that to British kids who are escaping World War II? It just doesn't make any sense for them to do this. I just despair at this, like, you know, they need to go. The Tories need to go. That's in conclusion of this video. They need to get lost. They created a culture war. Now they're losing their own culture war. Built a straw man. Instead of knocking it down, it's sprung back. It's disarmed them and it's whacking them over the head with their own weapon. Absolutely nuts. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.